So you know, it's a true story. I know where to sit, and I don't want to be over the stage. All right. I'll just be over here by you, Dan. Okay. Yeah. Have a seat. Okay. Yeah.
Well, first of all, let's excuse those who do have to go somewhere so that we don't hold you guys up. Because we would like to talk to you about what you just saw. Or what you think you saw. Everybody wants to. Is the dog staying? All right.
So you know, like when a verse poet dies and he transmigrates into the body of a cockroach, it's been told. But how are we going to tell it? Would anybody like to share their initial thoughts, general thoughts?
Mystery Rose.
I think you did an amazing job. It was written so beautifully, especially at the end.
Thank you.
I like that, so I'm gonna butcher this, Annabelle. You actually dressed for your part. You had the cat ears and the tail.
I was bored today.
Yeah. It was noticeable that you actually want the role and you actually did the
I'm never gonna get it because Angelina Jolie wants to be.
I really like that.
I'm used to being sexy.
And the characters really, even though I don't know if these are going to be the actual characters playing in the actual play, you guys really did a good job.
Thank you.
You really did a good job.
Something that I go back and forth about a little bit. So I don't know if we should hit our audiences over the top with, you know, costumes and whatever. The minimal sort of idea that Stephanie brought with the ears, the tail, that tells you who she is or what she is. And we've got obviously so many people over here in those two. Would aesthetically or visually, or just the way you absorb the story, is there a preference that the majority of an audience would have to? Yeah.
I thought that Dan's expression of what they looked like, they completely delivered on. I would not do any. You two are amazing, by the way.
By the way, Amy just stepped into this for us because our other actress wasn't available.
Wow.
I was a pinch hitter as well.
That's true.
Amy just flew in for the day because that's all she's got. But I'm thinking maybe I'm agreeing. It might be too distracting if there's all these.
I recently saw the Lehman trilogy, and
I love Susie Kay.
hello. I'm just saying, it was three guys who played multiple characters. I think they just dressed in a very basic thing.
Maybe an accent or two of some sort of.
The acting did it.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't like to do costumes. I like it simple.
I have a question. Our PR person asked if we were doing any matinees because she thought she could sell this as a family show. And some people said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And other people said, no, that's insane. It's not a family show. I'm interested in what you guys think. Could you bring kids to this?
Absolutely.
Totally.
There's enough comedy in it.
How old are they?
Well, yeah, I don't think you can bring a not a 5-year-old, but if you could bring a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, I think, yeah.
I watched Bugs Bunny cartoons.
I think a lot of stuff would go over their heads, but there's enough for a child to maybe not squirm for. It's not.
It's pretty long though for a kid
Double
to sit
digits
through
at
an hour and a
least.
half.
Plus the last monologue.
That's the thing.
I think that's pretty depressing. For
Yes, it is.
However-
I want to leave the audience on enough
like,
notes.
you're not going to grow up. Sorry, kids.
However, though, I do believe that these are relevant issues that kids need to figure out how to articulate. Whether or not they use our words, they still need to be able to feel and observe that a lot of thought is going into it, and that kind of energy drives the change that we're all, prepared to see and hopefully delivering on.
And I think
So-
it may be a point of discussion if a family came that they said,
Yeah.
and by the way, this was written 100 years ago.
Yeah, intense, because I mean, how does it not seem so contemporary?
Yeah.
Especially the ants, and they totally get into allegory like that. You know, we wouldn't have an industry if it weren't for kids, and kids stories being allegories.
to second that, 9, 10, 11-year-olds today are frighteningly aware.
Yeah.
I don't think this would go over their head at all.
Yeah, especially some of the messages, you know, I think that they've actually lived still 100 years since they were written, since he wrote. But like the moth, you know, rather live, you know, short, beautiful, dynamic life than a dull, drab, longer life. Not that you want to tell kids, you know, about the, but it's as far as how you live your life, basically. I think there are some good messages. Hopefully, they would pick up on it. Sorry, someone was about to.
I was just going to recommend that a lot of schools do field trips, so I think it'd be a wonderful field trip for
good.
middle school, high
Yeah.
school,
Okay. Yeah,
especially like it'll fit into their botany class or science class.
Yeah.
Take this on tour, darling.
Yeah.
I think if you go to schools or if the schools come to you, you would want to do a workshop with it. I think, and I like the idea of middle school and up. I think 6th grade and up.
Maybe do like a question and answer afterwards. Like
I think
almost
so.
Like
I think it would be beneficial.
I think it'd be cool too because this Don Marquis, he, you know, I didn't know who he was until Dan introduced me to him, and then I did some research, and there are a lot of people still today like really into that guy, into this poet.
Yeah, there are people who. I'm curious. Anybody here before you saw this or heard about it? Were you familiar with Archie Mehitabel? Any of you? I know a few of you. Yeah, see, a few people are. Yeah, a few people know it, but not many. And I'm telling you guys, as you've heard, most of this material is Marquis. It's not me. I did my best to try and stitch it together as well as I could, and I hope I did a good enough job of that.
Bravo.
But his words are and ideas. The final monologue that Archie does is all Marquis. I did not touch it.
That's incredible.
I mean, he says, and change the climate. That's 100 years ago.
It was
Nothing's been done.
It was the Industrial Revolution at that period.
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
That was the-
Well, yes.
right at the beginning.
End of it, though. I mean, he was writing in 1916.
So it was a little late.
It's pit post, but
Yeah, but-
he's seeing the effects of it, certainly.
Absolutely.
Well, not
yeah.
to beat the, you know, the children in the audience thing to death, but like I think it's cool that it's like my kid knows. My kid's 15 or 16 now, 16, and he knows all the Zeppelin songs because I force fed him that, right, or whatever I grew up. You know, and if he could pass these talents like Don Marquis on to the next generation, even if it's just, you know, locally, I think that's a great idea. Anyway, so.
Yeah.
That answers that question.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I've never heard of John Marquis, now I have. First of all, young kids for sure understand that moths don't live very long. I mean, like a 4-year-old knows that. So you're not gonna shock anybody or, you know, blow their minds by making them face the death of an insect. But in terms of the time that this is set in, it felt so contemporary to me, which is part of his writing. If you wanted to hit that harder in some way in the writing, the time period that this takes in and the influence of the Industrial Revolution, etc., you could, because really I kind of forgot that was part of it. And I was like, wait a minute, this takes place in 1960, I forgot.
Yeah,
You know,
part of
'cause
it.
this is kind of forever.
Well,
all
part of
these
it,
topics.
the boss's office is going to be just a small table over on this side of the
Right.
stage, and what you'll see on it is an old timey black
Okay.
giant typewriter and one of those candlestick phones. So it's gonna
So
it's
that
gonna
will
say
tell me then. I'm
yeah,
just saying,
exactly.
this is sort of the theme of it is not, it's contemporary theme too. And that's part of the beauty of it is that this is something we've dealt with now for quite a long time.
Yeah. Or haven't done.
Dan,
Or haven't, exactly, but I'm just saying, it's been an issue. But if there's some way even beyond what a set piece, push that a little harder.
Hey, you guys, did it work?
yeah.
Did it work?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Were there any parts where you went, oh, why was this
No.
thing over?
Not for a second.
No, I need to know these
It was
things.
fabulous. The
Yeah.
casting is
I know this cast is great.
wow.
I agree with the showing it to a middle school classroom and a high school classroom. I agree with that, and I think that if you do that, after the play, you should have a discussion like we are now, and tell the students that this is like, and explain that this is I don't really know the reference. It's from a book, right? Or
Well, actually, they were newspaper columns. Then they were made into a book in I think 32 called Archie and Mahitibel, and then there were 2 other books of compilations of his columns. Archie Does His Part and Archie's Life of Mahitibel. And they were wildly popular in their time, but as most of you know, nobody remembers any of this.
I don't know this. I'm like a Gen Z, like I'm 19. I don't know this, and I'm sure a lot of people who are in Gen Z have no idea what this is. Like I watched this play not knowing.
I'm
that.
Gen Z too.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like
But that's great. That's
Yeah.
a great song.
Yeah, so you should teach, like, after the play, you should say, hey, like, this is what this is.
Yeah.
And inform a lot of the students, like, about it, because I certainly didn't know.
This happened before vaping and Xbox.
Yeah.
And dogs love the show.
Yeah.
It's a soporific for dogs.
I just have a really small comment, but then I want to address what you were just saying. Dan, I was struck when the writing said manual typewriter, because I thought, well, there's no such thing as an electric typewriter in 1916. So I would just take off manual.
Oh, smart idea. Yeah, right.
And the other thing, I think it might be, in my opinion, a mistake to think too much about this children idea. This should stay dry and wry and arch, and for grown-ups. And I run a middle school newspaper. I work with 11, 12, 13 all the time. They totally would love this. So I don't think you need to worry about, I'm just gonna say dumbing it down. Keep it arch, keep it high level, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I would just say, in reiterating what she was.
Jerry, I didn't see you.
Jerry! Jerry Hauser, ladies and gentlemen.
Unmistakable sound.
Number 42.
Now I'm not even gonna open my mouth. No, but just it really gave me pause in thinking about what she was saying, that this was 100 years ago, and it was, to be honest with you, it was lost on me a little bit as the play went on, and I was just thinking, okay, it felt like just another statement about the way things are today, and I think more of a I don't know how or you would do that throughout, citing the times that were going on rather than just a statement that it was 1916, but something that would maybe restate throughout what was going on, the upset with the Industrial Revolution, if that's what was motivating that. But whatever it was that would tie that in, I think it gives it more power to see that it was happening then, and we're continuing to experience the same things now. Just kind of restating that.
I love that line of art.
And then have like clips of articles with the date, like 19.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, we do have a projection screen in the back that will.
Just a snippet of the news of the day.
World War I was
Yeah, and you can really broaden and build on the idea of what Archie says, about, hey, drop me a evening edition or whatever from time to time.
Yeah, yeah.
You could have the Sun paper come up
Yeah,
with a headline.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Because this is on the
This is only half the stage. What's that?
This is right before World War I.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah, when this curtain is open, there's a big screen. We can always the sun.
Anybody else got anything cogent?
Yeah, I just had one. I mean, I was trying to write it down, but it's like there's no way you're going to be able to read my writing. Not that you really need to know what I have to say, but I think this is really an amazing opportunity. The Don Marquis character, right? That Archie's talking to, in terms of being that sort of bridge between then and now, because, are you as a writer trying to bring out that the feeling of a Thornton Wilder stage manager, or what I really just came alive with is when all of a sudden Archie is bringing out the internal conflict of this guy, and we really see that real struggle of what humanity is in him.
Yes.
The more that he speaks. And boy, if you could, find places to amp up that dynamic and trim that
It
out.
needs to be amped up. Because that's an interesting point you bring up. When I first wrote this, the boss was basically, remember the Walt Disney Wonderful World of Color, and Walt Disney would
Yeah.
He was basically like the host of
I
this.
see.
And we had some readings, and people went, well, the boss has no arc. There's no arc there. There's nothing happening with him. So I thought, okay, I got to give him one. So now he's all messed up. His marriage is all screwed up, and he's got headaches and stuff. And Archie helps him to see maybe you need to slow down a little bit. So I'm glad you said that because hopefully that read. And you think there needs more of that? Do you think?
Well, I think it's an opportunity to broaden and build. I would not, certainly, what would that be? Please don't take that as a you've got to do this.
Don't
but,
tell them to take
thank
it.
God.
Next time I see this play.
Yeah. The kid stays in the picture.
Have you directed before, and are you available between July?
I know, right? But otherwise, all I'm saying is, otherwise you get left with this sort of sentimental, oh, well, that's really nice. Instead of a, holy shit, we got to do something. Now, I'm not saying that you need to leave the audience with either of those or anything, but it's just maybe something that you might examine.
That's precisely why we have you guys.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Maybe another thing might be music, like for example when Mahidabel's doing her little kind of sexy jazz, and also the moth could be dancing
Oh,
to.
all of that.
It's all in
Okay.
there.
Gotta be a lot of songs.
Never mind.
This is just a bare bones.
I missed it too.
Were you saying instead of having Archie tell us that, have it like almost it's more a dialogue about what we're facing in terms of ecologically speaking? Like would that be the idea, is to have it like a dialogue instead of just being told by Archie? You yeah.
Go ahead, Big Mouth.
Oh no! Not necessarily, no, because I think it's wonderful having all of the vignettes and the characters and sure we get hit with everything because of the dialogue and because the characters are so real and because they are identifiable with and all of this. I'm really thinking that with this idea of a narrator type that leads us, almost taking us by the hand through the maze of these wonderful stories. Sorry, Jerry, I don't want to hit you. It's an opportunity for Archie to really. I just didn't get enough of the impact. I mean, I know I saw it, I heard it, but I didn't feel it as deeply as perhaps I was wanting to. Is what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you need to get more in touch with your feet.
It's gonna be a flight audience.
I'm here for you, Danny.
Did I see something over your head yet?
First, I wanted to say it was really wonderful. It was incredibly entertaining. I loved the timelessness about it.
Deb, I didn't even see you.
I didn't see you come in either. Hi, Deb.
Hi.
We went. This young lady and I went to school together, college.
Wow.
Also Gen Z.
Yes, Deb.
So I guess what I was saying is when we were sitting down, we heard the music from the period, but there's again this timelessness about it that you have a unique opportunity to bring it up to date through the music. So if you're dropping music throughout, I think you can weave in as the time goes on till you get to the end, till you get to today.
Oh, that's interesting.
All of Bridgerton does that.
Yes.
Well, they actually
right.
take contemporary music and score it as
Right.
classical music.
Right, but like they take something from one time and put it in another. That's good. I like
And just that way, because if, in a sense, I lost time in it, and I said, "Oh my God, this is so relevant today. These are conversations we need to be having, not just with our children, but with each other, because they're almost more aware of it than we are, because they know they have to live it. But it's also the humanity that these creatures that, I killed a spider the other day because it was bigger than anything I wanted in my house. And so I have a rule: if you're in my house, you have to die.
Wow. What time's dinner?
Well, that was nice.
But it gave a sense of place and humanity to all the wonderful creatures that you played, and you made me care about them because you told me stories about them. And when you talked to the boss and you saw his arc of anger with his wife, and somehow because of your true humanity, he became a better person.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
can all become a better person if we are just aware of these things. So I truly enjoyed it. And
Thank you.
I agree. Like we actually see the perspective of. I agree. We actually see the perspective of like the insect and also all the other animals, and talking to human beings. We're like, wow, we are really shitty towards.
Well, now instead of crushing it, put a glass over it and put the paper under it and stick it outside.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Like Preston.
Dan, you need to talk to Deborah.
It makes, yeah, see, cause I mean, it kind of had that effect. I'm like, oh, wow, you know, the how do you say that? Anthropomorphizing of the animals, and especially back to the young kids, it's such a great technique. Because it really does teach you to really respect and again look at the little things. It's a miracle when you know all of these little creatures and the things that they do in nature. You know, and I think you guys did a really great job for me.
Yeah.
Of doing that.
Thanks.
And I think it would be very important for young people to see it.
Wait a minute, there's a blonde girl up in the
So
top.
pretty.
It's familiar. Hey, blonde girl.
Just a quick one, Dan. I know that the speech at the end, Archie's big speech, is original. I think it's a little too heavy-handed. I think it would probably serve the piece better if it were maybe shortened a little bit, and maybe a reference to, it's talking about the end of the world and there are ants at the end of the world. I think everyone's heard the saying that cockroaches are the ones at the end of the world. So I think if you kind of do something in reference that cockroaches are the ones at the end of the world, maybe this is the end for me. Maybe there isn't, you know, I forget what you call it,
Transmigration.
yeah, maybe there isn't transmigration, and leave it at that. And then at the end where we see the butterfly, you know, it's a happy ending kind of thing. I just think that one speech seems a little heavy-handed, given the comedy and kind of the rest of it.
I could do some cutting. There's no, you know, the thing is, this guy was so freaking brilliant. I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted to do this. Is I wanted people to be able to hear this stuff because it's just so cogent and
Yeah,
so.
the moth one really sticks with me.
Well, they're all just, you know, he deals a lot with ego, and, you know, I mean, you know, what he is the toad who thinks the world revolves around him, and he's very concerned about the human condition and how we relate to one another, and it's just, I don't know, I'm just pleased that you guys all came to hear this, and this is important to me. We're going to open this sucker on September 10th.
What?
Wow. In 3 acts?
So we just wanted to basically read it for you. We're going to throw the words at you. All the music, the art, like you were talking about with the boss and everything, and, you know, cutting speeches or making them lighter or heavier, all that stuff is really what we got together for today.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yes.
And Dan, do you have anything else you want to?
I don't think so. I just want to thank you all for being here. I see so many.
Oh, it's great. My God.